Every day, we all wake up, and through our actions, we create society. Each day, we seem to wake up and just recreate the one that we had yesterday. But that's an illusion. It's inevitable that one day we will all wake up and make something different. The society that we make today is not the one that was made 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago. The current order of things is not sustainable. Even if we all wanted it to, it could not be recreated forever, and there's good reason to think that it won't be recreated much longer. The question that everyone from reformists to revolutionaries wants to answer is, how can we make it so that when we all wake up tomorrow, we make something different? This series answers that question, at least in part. This is a series about direct action organizing. Organizers often say that there are 5 steps in changing society. AEIOU. A is for agitating ourselves so that we actually feel compelled to do something about things. E is for educating ourselves, that way we know that a better world is possible and what other people have accomplished who have been here in the past. I for inoculating ourselves, a fancy word that just means debunking all of the counter-arguments that the other side will throw at us for why it will never work. And for our series, O, organizing. We'll cover what U stands for in a later video. Most of the people on the internet who are leftists are mainly about agitating, educating, and inoculating. Very few of them do anything at all or even talk about organizing. When they aren't preaching to the already converted, their main goal is to change your beliefs. That's what AEI are for. That's not what organizing is, though. An organizer takes people as they already are and works with them to change society. If you want to learn how we can make something different, whether big or small, then this is the video series for you. How many times have you, for example, heard someone say something along the lines of, "People around here are so apathetic, no one wants to do anything." Yet, if you go outside, touch grass, as the kids say, you will see that literally everyone is out doing what they need to do. Most people are hard at work or play, doing things which will get them what they want. Almost no one is just sitting around apathetically waiting for good things to come to them. Just about the only people who do this are the haters. A hater is someone who, by definition, does nothing but complains or critiques what other people do. If you want to be an organizer, you can't be a hater. And if you are an organizer, haters are people who you can just ignore. Because once you realize that everybody is always out there doing what they need to do to get what they need, it's much more difficult to be a doomer. You also notice all the different ways that people are changing the world. We'll get into more of exactly how we do all of this organizing stuff in the later videos of the series. This is an introduction. For now, realize this. If we organizers encounter someone who seems apathetic, it's just because we haven't been able to convince them that organizing is one way to get what they need. But usually, we don't even know what they need, because we treat people like background NPCs in our own grand political quest. Or worse, just as an audience for us to show how virtuous and politically radical and morally righteous we are. How hot a moral take can we defend to feel that we alone have seen through the fog of falsehoods? Obviously, that's not organizing. Organizing, as we said, takes people as they are, people who are already inclined to want to participate in change, and then shows them how we can collectively make it happen. With that in mind, it should be obvious that most of what gets called politics on the internet is nothing more than vanity. Politics isn't speeches or grandstanding in the real world. It isn't getting into debates for an audience. Those things can be good for agitating, educating, and inoculating if they're done correctly, but to change things, we can't just talk. We need to start organizing. If you don't want to be someone who just hates everything, is always complaining about whatever new thing should outrage you, and you actually want to improve the world, then this video series is for you. It's about how to stop thinking like a hater and how to start thinking like an organizer. Today, we'll cover self-interest and the difference between what you say as an organizer and what you say as a hater. As organizers, we need to understand what self-interest is. Understanding that is the first step in organizing. When doing direct action organizing, the exact definition of which we'll go over in the next video in this series, we assume that we're working with people who are primarily motivated by self-interest. They are actually making the effort to organize because they want something for themselves, their family, their community, whoever. The term self-interest isn't as narrow as it would be to say a business executive, or maybe a moral authority who's talking about the fall of man or something. To an organizer, self-interest is very, very broad. What someone wants and why they want it are something an organizer can never, ever assume about a person until they actually express it to you. And no amount of pontification or riffing about various groups or social strata can change that. Each individual is an individual. They're more than the sum of their labels. Countless people across history and in the present day, both from reformists to radical revolutionaries, from petition signers to outright guerrillas, have acted against what someone who doesn't know them personally would assume is their self-interest. In fact, many of the most famous types of organizers from history have been exactly this type of person. It can be helpful to make educated guesses about who is likely to be recruited, sympathetic, or what have you, especially if you're doing that not by yourself or to feel better and poke fun, but in a meeting with your entire organization to figure out how to best spend your limited time. But an organizer never ever assumes what someone's self-interest is unless they actually express it to you. This is because each person is different, and there are an infinite number of types of self-interest. Just because we think that something might be important to someone doesn't mean it actually is. Someone may want to work with a multi-ethnic group to broaden their horizons. That's a type of self-interest. They could actually feel a civic duty for their community to run for office and honorably manage public finances. That's another type of self-interest. They might genuinely enjoy just working collectively toward a project, and they don't much care what it is. They may have a personal vendetta against the politician who's in office and want them kicked out. They may want higher wages at their job, or dignity in their workplace for the work that they do. They might fear violence from the existing social norms, or love someone who does. Some people want to be able to buy products without worrying that they're supporting slavery or sweatshops. Some feel a deep moral calling to actively end apartheid, even if they've benefited from it. Often, many people want to end oppressive systems because they've benefited from them, and they know that it's wrong. As an organizer, the way that you find out what someone's self-interest is that you'll go to people and listen to who they are. An organizer should never say, as an X, you must care about this thing. Or, this thing is so important, everyone should care about it, everyone has to care about it. The most important tool of an organizer is to listen. Listening lets you know what someone cares about, what their self-interest is, and then the next step is just getting them to act on that in a collective manner. So, how do you actually do this? Well, it's a skill. One-on-one meetings are the tried and true way. To start, find people who are already easy to recruit. You'll be a beginner after all. Just be open about what you want to do and ask them. Hey, so-and-so, wanna meet and get coffee sometime and talk about that thing you said you cared about? That might be enough. Then, at coffee, make sure that you're doing 20% of the talking and 80% of the listening. People will tell you basically everything about themselves. Maybe they aren't a perfect fit for what your group are trying to do right now, but remember them. Remember who they are and what they care about. Your interests may line up in the future, and then you can work together. That's what organizing is. It's the process of finding out what a person wants as an individual, and then helping them find collective ways to get it. As you talk to more and more people in the course of organizing, it might be helpful to take notes about what a person cares about and what they want. Not in a creepy or stalking way, but just to have a notebook somewhere for you and your fellow organizers. When maybe you're starting a new project, you need to think back to all the people who you've talked to over the months or years and find people who might be sympathetic. Just a name and what their general attitude was, the things that they mentioned and they cared about, is more than enough. Think of it sort of like a journal. I talked to this person today, I felt that they felt like this, I felt that they cared about that, they said this to me, and whatever. Make sure that you don't use this to gossip about people that you've talked about. It is purely for practical purposes in making sure that you don't make mistakes and disrespect people. The political is personal. The personal is political. So now, let's talk about relationships. Being a dick might feel good, but it gets you nowhere. Figuring out what another person wants and then tricking them into actually serving yourself is fun in board games, but is a horrible thing to do in real life. Being a dick and using people is for the vain and the arrogant who need to feel good about themselves. Organizing is overwhelmingly about genuine and sincere personal relationships. Changing the world means changing how individuals act together, and that includes you. The relationships that you as an organizer will be part of are the most important resource that you will have. And there are two important things that an organizer always tries to do with regards to their relationships. The first one is to actually like people. Misanthropes are not organizers. Haters never accomplish anything, after all. They're just critics who offer nothing and just run their mouths, pointing out how reality isn't some utopia that they've dreamed up in their head. Because of this, they often are very loud and make their attitude seem much more common than it really is. And being a hater is an easy trap for organizers to fall into. Organizers are people who are motivated by a strong love and compassion, but also by outrage. It's not a joke when thinking in this space to remember that parable about there being two wolves inside of you. A hater is someone who feeds the wolf of anger and hatred, while an organizer is someone who feeds the wolf of love and compassion. Being an organizer means realizing that the political is personal. It is not about being a manager or a business executive who manipulates and orders people around. Learning to be a better organizer is learning to be a better person. This includes not judging others, treating everyone with respect, and genuinely caring about other people and not simply using them. It's easy for even the most naive person to tell if you're using them or if you actually care. Acting graciously only to the powerful is also something easy to notice. In short, an organizer listens. They don't wait to talk. The second most important thing, which goes along with actually liking people, is to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. You should try to develop a reputation as someone who refuses to talk negatively about fellow organizers or other organizations who you are politically close to. Keep your friends' names and other orgs out of your mouth. Of course, you will have to talk negatively about the people and groups who are working against you. We call these people the other side. But normally we focus on the policies and the laws and the rules that they've made, not them themselves. And again, even this has limits. Criticizing the other side publicly should not be done for catharsis. Organizing is not standing on a soapbox in the middle of a hurricane and screaming at how unjust it is for destroying your neighborhood. Organizing is also not something done to win over the other side. That's for agitating, educating, and inoculating, and even there, it's often a waste of efforts. All those efforts are better spent on trying to win over the middle-of-the-road types, those who are on the fence. We'll cover this more in our power mapping video, which is coming in the series. But for now, just remember that public critique is done to win over the middle of the road, and that time spent arguing with the other side is time wasted. You have to be careful when agitating, educating, and inoculating, because it may cause many unorganized people to see our organization as nothing more than a shouting match with no importance. And really, when you consider most of what happens on the internet, where people get into debates simply just to debate, that is most of what it is. Politics is not speeches or philosophy. The political is personal. It's about personal relationships. Organizing is doing things with the people who you care about, your friends, your comrades, your neighbors, your coworkers. It is not, however, hooking up with them or being romantic with them. These things have no place in organizing. I'm going to end the video with a great quote from someone who successfully led a massive organization that won countless social victories. The quote is on his habits when he was part of group discussions, and it's just as important whenever you're working with anyone. If you're doing a job, you've called together a group of comrades to analyze a certain topic. After it's over, you think about all the arguments that were presented. You may even wonder if you were rude in the debate, if the way you replied to a comrade may have hurt their feelings. I'm usually very careful about this. Whenever I have to criticize a comrade, the first thing I do is try to protect them, to keep the criticism from being destructive, so it won't demoralize them, and so, while serving as an example for the others, it commits and stimulates them. In general, for any non-violent conflict, treat the problem as the enemy, and think of the other people that are in that conflict as your greatest allies in destroying that enemy. This goes especially for people who are within your organization. That's how you avoid simply splitting over personal vendettas. So many people are terrible communicators because they don't want to do this. When you actually facilitate these things, which isn't always easy, it makes everyone feel so much better, and the issues actually get solved in a respectful way. In this video, we covered what organizing isn't, why being a hater is for losers, and what self-interest is. We also talked about how to treat other people as human beings by being respectful, giving them the benefit of the doubt, and listening. In the next video, we're going to discuss the 5 main types of organizing so that we can better understand what direct action organizing really is. I'll see you then.